Good morning, pleasant good morning to one and all. Welcome to another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Today, Wednesday, September the 14th, in the year 2022. We are here, we are ready to go again, no technical issues. I am here, my co-host, co-accused, Mr. Conway is already in the studio, and we are ready and raring to go. We are here. And welcome. I must shout out to the early boards. John from Tennessee, first man in the house this morning, followed by the regular early board, Vibart. Dudley from Jamaica, here very early. George, BV man, already here. Philip from Linden. We have Marlin, Schwartzy, Leon, Rhonda, Raul, Redman. You ain't taking chances at all, boy. One time is enough. You learn your lesson. You're coming late. Denise, regular Denise, the secretary, according to Elise and Natasha, Denise is the secretary. She makes note of those who are late and those who are absent. Denise is the person who will make the notes. Wesley, welcome, Wesley, welcome. Everett, Stian, Francis, Carlin, everybody, the people in the house, man. The numbers are already mounting. Samuel, Neil. Present Neil, I observe, share the life in the meanwhile. Raul, you're not taking chances too. Raul is always here, ready and early, and willing to make some very valuable comments. So welcome, Raul. I welcome you, Joan. Joan is here, two Joans. Winston is here as well. Gordon, Pito, in the house and ready to go. The man from Borbies, Pito, old coach soup man, ready to go. Rhonda, Sagi, welcome, Sagi. Welcome, Sagi. Old man from Cedarmetry with me back in the day. Sagi is here. Emerson, welcome. Andy, Squaddy, Doreen, all the way from Canada. Good morning, Doreen, and welcome. Canty, welcome. Paulette from Borbies, man. Paulette from Borbies is here. Terrence is here as well. Terrence, welcome, Terrence. Welcome. I mean, we're all here. The numbers have already mounted, and we have a lot to talk about today. Idol, Joel, Desiree, Emerson, Corinne, Troy, Lynette. Welcome to all of you. Denise, please note that Elise is not here as yet. And some others, you will note you're the record keeper. Chris, welcome. Chris, welcome to one and all. Mark from Canada. I know, Mark. Well, you're Tennessee now. You are holidaying in Canada recently. You're now in Tennessee. Welcome, Mark. Old cricketer, Mark. Welcome to one and all. We have a lot to talk about this morning. We have a lot, but you know the drill. Share the live, and let's get the numbers mounted. Let them know that we are here. We're ready to go, and I'm sure you don't want to miss the discussion this morning. We have so many things to talk about. And let me warn you from very early that I suspect that because of the subject this morning and the things that we have to talk about, we're going to go way beyond the 1 hour. You know what we do? Once we start talking about the subject, we continue until it gets to this logical conclusion. We're not going to cut you off just because the 1 hour is finished. We are going to continue to speak out. We're going to continue to let you know what is going on. And we have a lot to talk about this morning. Telsa, welcome. Carol, welcome. Thank you very much for your remarks, Carol. Telsa, welcome. And we are raring and ready to go. Marlon, welcome. BV man, a lot of BV people in the house. People from New York, people from London, Canada, and around the Caribbean, Antigua. I noted I have failed to recognize our old police, Flack. He will know we're referring to Flack from Antigua. Old man at the TSU with me back in the days. Flack was at the TSU, then Flack moved to CID, and then he migrated. So welcome, Flack. I know you're in the house every day. Every Wednesday you're here. So good to have you. Good to have all of these people. Share the live. And we have Nolan. Welcome. Good to see you on the live, Nolan. Good to see you on the live. Jacko, welcome, Jacko. And you know, again, I will say, Joel, welcome. It is growing. We are growing. More and more people are joining. People are reaching out. And they're even asking us to go more frequently. That is, they say that they once a week. They can't bear the chief to wait until next Wednesday when we finish. So they're asking us to do at least twice a week. We are going to consider all of that, because the important thing is to make sure that you get the information. Eric, welcome, Eric, another regular. Orin, welcome. Thank you for the greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Share the link, and let's get everybody involved. Share and let's get everyone involved. Now, let me say this. As we know, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. And we have to be thankful. We have to be grateful to be in the land of the living. You know, you got up this morning and you take things for granted. But remember, without the big man, without the man above, none of us would be here. None of us would be here. So we have to always give praise and thanks to the Almighty. He is the man who decides whether we're going to be here. He is the one who decides whether this program will run. And I noted a certain man making a statement about the good Lord is the man who controls everything. I hope that I always remember that. It was a profound statement, you know. It's there on the social media of a certain big man making a statement, trying to berate another man and say, look, you can't be in charge of people's big. So what's the effect? That God is in charge of everything. Yeah, God is in charge of everything. And remember that. They must remember that in all their machinations and all that they do. Remember that God is in charge. God is in charge. And as we would normally do at the start of this program, we'll tell you about some of those who have not been this fortunate to be in the land of the living this morning. And I want to start to let us know, I mean, by now all we know that the most famous woman in the world, the most famous woman on planet Earth, Queen Elizabeth II, passed away last week. And therefore, that statement that man made I thought it was profound. Because no matter how powerful you are, no matter how powerful you think you are, no matter how you think you can control people's lives and do whatever you want to do with them, God is in charge. And at the end of the day, when the big man said, come home, you can't run a night. He is in charge. And when he says it's time for you to go, you have to go. So the Queen, I'd say the most famous woman, the most well-known woman on the whole planet Earth, has gone to the great beyond. And so therefore, we have to live our life in a manner that is pleasing to the Lord. Not to please man. Not to please man. As I said, when I heard the statement, they had to smile. I said maybe that was a slip of the tongue, because how some people behave is as if they're going to be here forever and ever. They cheat, they thief, they lie, they discriminate against people, and they operate as if they are going to be on the face of the earth forever and ever. But remember, God is in charge. I am glad that at least at that moment, that the gentleman remembered that God is in charge and we all have to go. So the most famous woman, Queen Elizabeth II, or as one man had said some years ago, Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen Elizabeth II has transitioned. And with all the pomp and all the ceremony and something, she has gone. She can't raise a finger to do or to say anything. What lives on is the legacy. What lives on is our legacy. And they're going to be debate as to whether the legacy is a good legacy or a bad legacy. I'm not going to go into that here, but just to tell you that we're all mortals and we all have to go at some stage. And then only yesterday we got word that Duke Pollard, retired Justice Duke Pollard, brilliant legal mind. He transitioned yesterday as well. He was one of the persons in the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, many years ago. He was with CARICOM as a legal person there. He too has gone to the great beyond. And then in terms of policemen, I learned, it was last week I think, that former retired detective Scotland, I think Ludovic, he had a funny name. He always remind me because I used to call him Ludwig, and he said, no, Chief, the name is not Ludwig, it's Ludovic. one of those strange names, Kaplan. He transitioned sometime last week. Kaplan worked with me in Borbies when I was commander there. Very good, respected detective, very tall, stately forces. He worked with me. Very good man, a man who you could have trusted. You knew that he was not corrupt. You knew that he would come and he would tell you what is going on and so on. He did very good report. He wrote very good reports. And he transitioned. He had some medical challenges, I understand. The most recent information that I got is that his funeral will be tomorrow in New Amsterdam at the, let me get it right here, at the Grace Temple Assembly of God Church, Pope Street, New Amsterdam. I think they say that the funeral service is at 2 p.m. And so those of you who are in that area may want to go and pay your respects. So Scotty is no more. And for the people who keep records and your squaddy and things, Scotty's number, police number, was 11812. 11812 Scotland. And then word came to Antu that the ex-chief inspector, Milton Bristol, his number was 5591, that Bristol passed away recently. I did not know him, but my colleague and co-host, Mr. Conway, will tell you something about him because Conway worked with him. Then we have the one that shocked me and struck me. I'm still recovering from that, is the passing of my mentor, retired Assistant Commissioner Franchard Duncan Clark. He passed away too recently. I could tell you this. Had it not been for Franchard Duncan Clark, they would not have been the Paul Slow that you now know or you came to know. Duncan Clark was responsible for me being what I am, what I turned out to be. I say this without any fear of successful contradiction. He was the most complete police officer that I have ever known. When I say complete, I'm talking about in terms of his knowledge. He knew policing inside out. He knew policing inside out. And not only the actual policing when you talk about charging and arresting, when it came to drills, all aspects of policing, Duncan Clark knew. All aspects. And he took me under his wings. As a matter of fact, the first time I met him, and for those of you who don't understand the system, let me tell you this. The first time I met him, I was a recruit at the training school, and I went to a panel for an interview to go to the TSU. I was interviewed to go to the TSU, and the panel consisted of Mr. Franchard Duncan Clark and Squaddy Duncan, two different persons. I saw somebody commented and referring to Franchard as Squaddy Duncan. No, Freddy was not Squaddy Duncan. Squaddy Duncan was Carlton Duncan. He passed some years ago, but Franchard was he was Franchard Duncan Clark, one of those hyphenated names. And when I attended the interview, he was one of the panelists interviewing me to go to the TSU. I was interviewed to go to the TSU. And when I got to the TSU, he is one of the persons who took me under his arms. He taught me the disciplinary process, the disciplinary procedure. He taught me to write up resume and to write disciplinary charges. He taught me that he was the most complete police officer that I have ever known. Outstanding, well-dressed, well-turned out, shoes shine, commanding presence, commanding voice. And when he spoke, people listened to him. When he spoke, people listened to him. And I told myself as a young policeman, I want to be like this man. I want to be like this man. And over the years, we have maintained contact, and he would always tell me how proud he was, how I turned out. He would always tell me that. So Franchard's transition, I don't have details about the funeral as yet. His daughter is in contact and his family. So as soon as those details are available, I am going to make it known. And then finally, I want to announce the passing of ex-Sergeant Wesley James. I am advisor of Wesley James, regulation number 7434, who was last stationed at the Special Branch, passed away recently. Yes, Ulrich, Duncan Clark was an excellent, great police officer. No superlative is, the superlatives are many to describe Franchard Duncan Clark. And then we must remember too that he was also a member of the Police Service Commission. For a number of years, he was a member of the Police Service Commission. Yes, then he's well-dressed, disciplinarian. Nobody messed with him. Nobody messed with him, including his seniors. He commanded such respect that when he spoke, his seniors had to listen. He didn't talk because he had a mouth. You know, a lot of people them talking now all because they get his mouth and they talk. But he backed up whatever he said. Whatever he said, he backed up. And I remember then again as a young policeman, you know, he allowed people like myself, Kenneth Tappin, Trim, Albert, we were young subordinate officers. He allowed us reign to run the TSU. He would direct us. So things like people to fall in, people to go on duty, he was just there in the background. And we would get his support. If there's anything that we wanted to know, we will go and we'll find out from him. And he will tell us what to do. There's one story with me and him. I can't tell you the full details here. But in teaching me how to do disciplinary matters, what I did, I was a sergeant then. I would parade the defaulter before him. And he would write on the back of the breach of discipline notice the explanation by the defaulter and what the finding should be. And then he would hand it over to me with his notes of evidence book. And I will go and I will write up the resume, take it back to him. He will read it over, and then he will agree and he will sign it off. He had a difficulty on writing. And I couldn't make out what was written fully. And I went to him. And there were certain signs that we as the regulars always observed. When you went to speak with him, if he was quiet, you look to the side of his neck. And if those veins were pulsating, you know that is not the right time to speak to him. He was not in a good mood. And I went in there in the morning, not looking for the signs, and I asked him, but I should have known because for the time I got in, I said, I got in, good morning, sir, what is it you want? And I did not pick up on the sign. And I went on to ask him, what is it that he wrote? And I can't tell you on social media because I might be put in Facebook jail what the response was and to me. But immediately I hurried out of the office and I went to Khan, who was a secretary there, 9688, Akbar, we used to call him, and he was able to decipher what was written and said to me. And there was another incident that I want to let you know about this man, this great man that has transitioned. As a young instructor at the TSU, I became an instructor. Immediately, I left the police training school. So I left police training, left the college on the 1st of September 1974. When the batch came in after me, they came in around the 15th. I was made an instructor when they started the training. So because you're an instructor, you did not get to go out of town. I told you some weeks ago about people going to New River, Triangle to Camp Jaguar, and elsewhere where they got extra money. They got a PD, the per diem. Now, because I was an instructor, I was not allowed, I did not get the opportunity to go out. So there was this one occasion when there was no training going on, and I was told to prepare to go to New River, Camp Jaguar. I was elated because I can get an opportunity to go out of town and to earn some extra cash. And just before the training started, just before the people were to go to Camp Jaguar, a set of special constables training came into the training school, and then they told me to stand down. I couldn't go to Camp Jaguar anymore. I had to remain and train the SCs. You could imagine how I felt. And I decided that I do not want to be an instructor anymore. Take me out of the instructing pool because I was so disappointed. And the first morning thereafter, there's an old police, 77, 71, small, who was sent to bring across the SCs. And when he brought them over to the TSU square, he was there with them. Left wheel, left wheel, left wheel, left wheel. And then Franchuk came to the brander. And those of you who knew him knew that he had some language that he used to use. So what is so-and-so going on out there? And they said, very slow. And then somebody said to him, I think it was Rudolph Porter, the officer, Slow say that he doesn't want to be an instructor anymore. Franchuk said, what? Bring him to me. I was paraded before Franchuk. And when Franchuk finished with me, I tell you, I cried. Water came to my eye, water around me. I buck up. All the fancy language, all them kuliba he used on me and so on. And chased me back on the square. And I went out there. And I live to appreciate. I never regretted what he did to me. Right? Yes, there's a Costard. He never makes sport. There's another incident on the TSU Square with he and Joe Sam. I can't tell you that here, but I will tell you some other time when we meet over some quiet drink. Wasn't an ordinary man. Was not an ordinary man. He commanded the type of presence. He had the type of knowledge. His voice told you that he was in charge. His mere deportment. His mere deportment. You realize, hey, this is not a man to mess with. You realize. And you know, the records will show that he did not stay until retirement. People might not forget, people might remember, but he was so mad with a certain man who was in position that I remember he told us, because we were very close to him, say, he can't take this nonsense anymore. I cannot, he used to speak, I cannot take this rubbish anymore. I am going to leave. And he opted for early retirement. He opted for early retirement because he couldn't take what was going on at the time. So I want to take this opportunity to wish the deceased relatives, friends, families, all the best condolences to them. I know it is not easy. Franches's daughter, Michelle, was very close to him. So were the other children. I want to tell you that my prayers are with you and with them. And may he rest in peace and rise in glory. Now, let me bring in my co-host, Mr. Conway. CC, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. That was more than a mouthful, especially Francis Duncan Clark. I know him well, and I did learn quite a lot from him. But I'm happy to be in the land of the living for us to be able to do God's work. I want to talk a bit about Bristol. We used to call him Tagno. And I got to know him when I was performing duties at a police station in Imbotiro. I could spell it for the benefit of persons. Imbotero. And Imbotiro is on the northernmost tip of the Guyana map. Right at the very top, there's a little station named Imbotiro. And on the other side is the Venezuelan outpost. So they had a creek there, the Imbotiro Creek, that separates those two police outposts. And when you are in the Venezuelan outpost, you can see Guyana outpost. And when in Guyana outpost, you could see what's going on in the Venezuelan outpost. But we had a very good relationship there. The police there, with all the wrangling and tangling with the politicians, the police there had very good relationship. When we run out of ration, we go across to the Venezuelans and get food stuff. And when they run out, they come to Guyana police outpost and got food stuff. And also they were very fond of Banco wine. And I remember I made my first drug case there. A guy came over from Venezuela with a whole set of drugs. I arrested him. I had to take him to Mabruma because in those days, and I think it still is, Mabruma is a subdivision headquarters for the police stations in the Northwest, which include Yaraquito, Morawano, Port Kaitumo, Arakaga, Matthews Ridge, Barmito. So when I went with the guy and the drugs, I checked through the 14 thick volumes that we had there, and I couldn't find the law to charge a man. So I went to Bristol, and he said, no. You got to check the old ordinance. And we checked the old ordinance, and we found the relative charge. And on the top of the head, he said, take the statement of offense. And he read out the statement of offense and the particulars of offense and give it to me. I was able to successfully prosecute the youngster. I think he got 18 months. But Bristol was very knowledgeable, Paul. He understands the police standing orders. He could repeat things off his head about the police standing orders. And I learned so much about him. Like myself, he was an ardent cricketer. After he graduated, after he resigned, he went to the United States of America. And every year when there's test match cricket, he used to come back. Every year he'd come back and watch cricket, and then he went back to the United States. And then his wife took ill and he couldn't come anymore because he couldn't travel. But I learned quite a lot from him, and may his soul rest in peace, and those who pass beyond the great beyond. As you mentioned, sometime we have to go. We are nothing in this world.
Yes, well said. We are nothing. but what the Lord wants us to be. Nothing. Share the life, continue to share, let people know that we're on. Let them know that we're on. Some people are saying that we should stop talking about the dead and go into the. I mean, people are impatient and they're anxious for us to get started. But we're gonna get started. You know, let me give you the thing. We're gonna get started. We get we're gonna get started. Let me sound the alarm. We are getting there. Let me sound the alarm. Let me sound the alarm. Now, the first thing that we want to the first subject that we want to really go into is this matter relating to the dismissal of the case against the permanent secretary. Remember, only some weeks ago, I was telling you that these cases were there before the court and you weren't hearing anything about it. And then we read a few days ago, I think it was Friday, that the charge against the permanent secretary of the Marine Affairs, Sharon X, was dismissed because the businessman declined or refused to give evidence against her. Now, let me bring you up to speed for those who are not sure what we're talking about. Now, this Sharon X was the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Marine Affairs. It is alleged that a businessman went to CID headquarters and complained that she was making demands of him. She wanted payment of 200,000 Guyana dollars per month before she can sign off on vouchers that he was. It was further revealed that the businessman's father had some business, and after the father died, he took over the business. And the deal with the businessman's father and the permanent secretary, that is the allegation, is that he paid $200,000 a month to get contract from the ministry. And when this businessman took over, the same demand was made. He paid 3 months, and then he became tired, and he went and he made a report to the CID. That is what was said. Now, having made the report at CID, the police there decided to set a trap. Usual thing, not unusual. They mark the money. In other words, when you mark money, you would record the serial numbers of the bills. They gave it to the businessman and they told him to go and give it to the permanent secretary. After the money was handed over to the permanent secretary, the police moved in. I suspect in normal police way, they would have told her about the allegation and the fact that monies that were marked was handed to her, and they found the money in her possession. They found the marked money in her possession. She was arrested and charged. And as I've said, the matter dismissed because the businessman decided that he does not want to give evidence any longer. Mr. Conway, let me hear your take on this.
I read the article, and also there are several other cases in court whereby the virtual complainants will refuse to give evidence, and then the matter will say case dismissed. You see, in the instant case, the virtual complainant, who's a key witness in that matter, elected not to give any evidence, and the magistrate accepted. Perhaps he could have put it on for some other time and check and see whether the man would have changed his mind and adopt another course of action. But if he refused to give evidence, maybe and is forced to give evidence, he may be competent and compellable, the magistrate must could have compelled him, but he can go in the box and shelter on the pretext, or I can't remember and I can't remember and I can't remember. What do? You could ask the magistrate to deem him a hostile witness, where you can ask him direct questions, but he can still say, I cannot remember. The thing is that something got to be done with that law. Too many persons, even in a court, in rape cases, victims go in front of the judge and say, I don't want to give evidence, and the matter is closed, it is finished. Something is wrong somewhere along, and we need to look at the law, and then there's no cost attached. What would happen to the permanent secretary? I know she was interdicted. What would happen to her now? You know, there are so many issues they're involved, and we need to look at the law and maybe find some amendments on that. You need to force people some time to give evidence, although they may not want to do so.
Well said. But let me say this. I wrote a letter to the media, and I have it there on my page, on this page, this very page, speaking out, exposing corruption and incompetence, because I said, having regards to the fact of this matter, the question of competence and compellability comes into play. There's no doubt that the businessman was competent to give the evidence. The question is whether he could have been compelled to give the evidence. And I'm saying that if you read the law related to compellability, because it tells that the only person you cannot be compelled in most circumstances to give evidence against is your spouse. So your wife or your husband, or as they say, your live home common law wife, you cannot in certain circumstances be compelled. But they say all others, you can be compelled. And as you rightly pointed out, he would have given a statement to the police outlining exactly what transpired. And if he goes into the witness box and he gives something contrary, then you're right, he can be deemed as a hostile witness. And let me, again, for the people who are on, and this is teaching time for those policemen who are here. When we talk about hostile witness, we are talking about a witness who's aggressive. We're talking about a witness who has given a particular statement and then he is going to say things contrary to the statement. So there's a procedure you go through, and the man is deemed a hostile witness. Now, once he's deemed a hostile witness, then the prosecutor can cross-examine. Under normal circumstances, you cannot cross-examine your own witness. You have to lead them to give the evidence that they have to give. But once the person is deemed a hostile witness, then the prosecutor can cross-examine his own witness. I learned those things. I did prosecutor's course since 1980. Since 1980, I did prosecutor's course, and those were key subjects to be taught. And then the next thing is, I am saying, if the law as it currently stands does not permit this witness in this case to be compelled to give the evidence, then there needs to be amendments to the law. Only recently, you will recall the Evidence Act was amended because the evidence about co-accused, remember, again, they say a co-accused, for example, let me explain it finally for the policemen who are listening. The police who are listening. If two persons you investigate a crime, A and B commit this crime, and then A break down and A say, well, it's B. He said B do this and B do that. Now, because A and B are jointly charged and they're co-accused, the evidence that given by A is not evidence against B. So if we say, well, it's B do this, it's not evidence against B, it's evidence against himself. Now, recently, there was amendment to the law, the Attorney General, big nice over here, where that is no longer so. So the evidence of a co-accused, and this is my understanding, I am no liar, but I read and I understand, that the evidence now of a co-accused may be accepted in the courts of Ghana. So I'm saying that if you're talking about fighting corruption and getting to the root of corruption, if the law as it currently stands would not have permitted the businessman to be compelled to give evidence, then you need to amend it to make sure that in matters like those, people are compelled to give evidence. That is what will show me and others that you are serious about fighting this scourge of corruption in the Guyanese society. And yeah, you asked the right question. If the man decides, well, look, I don't want to give evidence, what about cost? Could the magistrate have levied cost for wasting this time of the state, the wasting the time of the court? Could that have been done? I don't know. And then the issue about the PS position now, that the matter has been dismissed. Remember again, the matter was dismissed. I had to correct a colleague recently where he said, well, the matter was acquitted. It's not acquitted. You can only be acquitted if you went to a trial. Acquittal is when a trial is held and the evidence does not support the charge, so the person is acquitted. But in this case, the matter is dismissed because based on what is carried in the media, there was no trial. So again, I'm saying that if we are serious about fighting corruption, and I get a strong feeling that many people are not serious, it's only lip service. They talk about fighting corruption, they talk about bringing the evidence. Yeah, you talk about bringing the evidence. In this case, the evidence was overwhelming. The person was caught red-handed. red-handed. And I know, and CC, I'm gonna bring you in here because you know that I personally about the task of going through operations like that, where I mark money and gave to people who came to make report, money handed over. I remember in one case, the policeman got 3 months jail. On another case, I can't remember what the outcome of that, but policemen were charged and convicted in similar circumstances. And nobody decided that, look, they're not going to give the evidence. So we have to examine that. So normally, once you mark the money, you give it to the person, the money is handed over, and those notes are found in the possession of the person. We say open and shut case. That's easy.
Yeah, Paul, you hit the nail on its head. But the thing is the connecting evidence, the nexus. The person who gave the money not there in the instant case we talking about. But though, when you look higher up in the high court, you have persons who commit gruesome murders and they plead guilty to manslaughter, and the state will accept that.
Yeah. I see a case recently where a man charged with a felony murder, and the man get a couple years. And when we say felony murder, again, for those people who are trying to learn, a felony murder is a murder that is committed during the course of committing another crime. So if you are, let me say, you break into a man's house or rob and kill him, that is referred to as a felony murder. So if you go on the road, you try to rob a man, and in the process you juke or you shoot him and he dies, that is a felony murder, which is normally far more serious than the ordinary, disorderly murder or so. So this whole corruption thing needs to be addressed because it looked like we in the animal farm, according to George Orwell, where all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. That's the only conclusion I can come to when you review the facts of this Sharnik's case. And we are wait to see whether she's going to be reinstated. Let us wait to see if she's gonna be reinstated to that position or some other position, because you know what happens in this society of ours, they might decide, well, they think and look bad, even though they don't look bad to them, so they're not gonna take her back to that ministry, but then follow and see she got a post that is equivalent to that, or perhaps even some higher post with the government, because it seems that corruption is something that is condoned and something that flourishes. And we know that it flourishes, but it seems that is something that is condoned. Any TC want to say anything more on that?
No, I think we have said enough of that, and let's move on to the main issue.
Let's move on to, and I gotta bring in the people. We gotta move on to the main thing. We gotta give them little. We gotta bring them. We gotta give them the notice, man. Lado, you're right, man. The man said, the more that I see an air of men, the more I love my dog. Right, let me go into this this Bascom matter. When we did the notification, we said that we're gonna deal with the Bascom saga. As the person said, we're gonna deal with the Bascom saga. I don't think we need to go into what this thing is all about. I don't think we need. I think most of the people here by now, this is one of the hottest story in the public. Boston, Dion Bascom, the police sergeant, the detective who claimed cover up in the Ricardo for Gomez murder, and the bribery to claim that the people in the music crime unit connected $30 million to cover up the matter. The president indicated some time ago that RSS. The RSS, I mean RSS, so I say RSS, I mean RSS, was asked to review the matter. Now, according to what they're saying, the RSS, I keep saying RSS, the RSS came and the RSS did some review. That is what they are saying. And the RSS submitted some report. And based on the report that the RSS submitted, the Ministry of Home Affairs last Friday released what they call the key findings of this review that was done by the RSS. Mr. Conway, your take. What did you see the key findings? Let me go through these things and educate and enlighten the public.
All right, you go through and I respond.
All right, good. All right. So first of all, the first thing I found strange is that they say I don't know if it's one person or persons from the RSS came, because these persons or person was never presented to the public. We don't know what he or she looks like. We don't know their name. We don't know their credentials to say whether this person has the competence to conduct this review. I don't even know if a review was done. I don't know, because I have not seen evidence to say or to confirm that a review was done. The Ministry of Home Affairs gave a release, and they are saying what the key findings are. And when I read this thing on Friday, I remember right away the Attorney General of the United States under Donald Trump, a man by the name of William Barr.
R.
If you remember, when Robert Mueller, the former or the ex-head of the FBI, conducted the investigation into the Russian probe, at the end, a report was submitted. And Robert Mueller, and William Barr, the Attorney General, came out on a press brief, and he summarized the report and basically said that report found that there was no collusion between Trump and his people and the Russians. In other words, he said that the report vindicated, cleared Donald Trump. Now we have come to see later on, a matter of fact, shortly after the Mueller was compelled to come out and to make a statement and say that basically he did not say, or the report did not find the things that Barr was saying. So when I read this thing on Friday, that the Ministry of Home Affairs is saying what the RSS report, they're summarizing, and they say they issued 8 key points, which we will go through for the benefit of our viewers. They're saying that, look, there is nothing there. There is not, as I said, I don't even know, because one would expect that in a matter like this, a high-profile matter like this, the president having said that you're going to engage RSS, at some stage, the people here, well, John Jones from RSS came. They said that the man who came is someone from the some retired chief inspector from the Metropolitan Police. For you who know Metropolitan Police of the UK, is what we refer to as Scotland Yard. He came and he reviewed. He was in charge of some. He was in part of some major crime unit, and he reviewed the thing. And that is what they are saying, that this man. So we don't know who this person is. No name has been mentioned. He was never presented. One would have expected it at some stage. A man like that, at the end, maybe he would have been presented to the media. He gave a press brief, say, look, I came, this is my background, and this is my findings, so that people can field questions and be satisfied that there was some proper process to do this review. But that wasn't done. So as I've said, I don't have any evidence that this man came, and I am not going to take what the Ministry of Home Affairs or the Minister of Home Affairs say. They have no credibility, none whatsoever. They have none, and I don't think, but I would not believe. If you want to believe, that is you. But we big, but we ain't stupid. At least I big, I ain't stupid. And I'm sure the viewers here, some of them are big, and even the ones who are not so big, they ain't stupid. Now, one of the first things we note that, and it was admitted, that they never interviewed Dion Bascom. They came to do a review, never interviewed Bascom. So I don't know how you're going to do a review and come up with a report which says that the allegations are false. And you never spoke to the alligator. You never spoke to the man who made the allegation. And then they come up on the first key findings. Let me read it. Let me read the first key findings. They say the bribery allegations made by Sergeant Bascom against the Ghana Police Force, namely that Detective Superintendent and Detective Superintendent Caesar and Inspector Stevens, in an attempt to cover up the unlawful killing, homicide of Fagundes, were ASA having no provenance. That's the first thing they say. Let me hear your comments on that.
All I love my Calypso. I love King Leo. And also I love my reggae, Johnny Nash, saying there are more questions than answers. And the more I find out, the less I know. We said from the beginning, Paul, the RSS, I'm going to left out the vowel, does not have the capability to do investigative work. They're more better suited for hurricanes and natural disasters and those kind of things. And according to what I read, is that they weren't there to really investigate, but to review. So what could happen is that the police maybe have sent the statements to them and they sit down and do statement analysis. Maybe sit down at the Jolly Roger Resort under umbrella with a few Caribbeans and run through the statements and then do some analysis of the statement and then send back to the police the same thing that they said, in the crime, in the press conference fiasco that they had. No proper investigation. And if you're doing an investigation, you got to interview persons who are involved. Let me just branch off a bit. Somebody sent me a copy of a video, Australian version of 60 Minutes. It was in 1981 where there was a prostitute, and I'm repeating myself, a prostitute and drug addict named Sally Ann Gustive. And she made some damning report about the New South Wales police. She spoke about the corruption that was taking place there. The police there, they were crooks, crooked persons. They own drug trafficking. They set up robberies. They committed murder. And the most decorated policeman in the New South Wales, Roger Rogerson, he had 13 awards. 13 awards. And he was the most crooked cop ever. The New South Wales police did an investigation. They hold an inquiry. They did meticulous work. They look at TV footage and they did some meticulous work. And Shelley and Gustive testify and shook up that police department. I remember she was a prostitute. She was a strumpet. But they believe her story. They didn't do like what the police do. Oh, Basco might have been involved in legal story, so what he's saying is lie. And what the crime chief is saying, that they're going to hold a press conference to debunk what he's saying. You need to listen to the other side of the story. They need to listen to Boston. Just as how the New South Wales police had listened to a prostitute and heroin addict. And she made a profound statement. She said when the police take on the role of the judge, jury, and executioner, it's time for somebody to come forward and speak. And she spoke after they killed her boyfriend. High daytime, the police said that it was self-defense. 2 bullets in him, self-defense. And what happened is that they discovered that her boyfriend, who was a criminal, accepted, had to rip off somebody with drugs, only to discover that the drugs, $39,000 worth in Australian currency, was that of the detective sergeant who was doing his own drug runnings. The point I'm making is that you got to listen to people and that you got to listen to Boston and you got to hold a proper inquiry, as you had mentioned, where persons will come on the oath and testify and give evidence. And even sometimes you might have to allow persons to give evidence in camera. But the police has come with attitude. What Boston saying there is like, we ain't believe it, and we're going to make all effort to shut him up and all effort to ensure that we do not investigate the matter.
Well said, CC. Now let me, before I move on, the same thing, talk about AC. I mean, you can't be doing an investigation or a review and talk about AC, because let's assume that Boscom said that what Boscom said is AC. You have to interview him. That's how investigations are done. Where did you get this information from? He then said that John Jones told him. Well, we know right away that it's AC because John Jones is not the person against whom the allegation is made. But you then have to go to John Jones and you have to follow the trail. And that is how you investigate, because at some stage you might get to the point where it leads you to the person who actually saw or actually overheard the accused person saying these things. But you can't just look at a statement and say, well, look, this is hearsay. That is not investigation. And I am sure any detective, whether he's from the RASS, or, I mean the RSS, whether he's from wherever he is, should know that. Because there's investigation 101. I learned that statements and investigation and get hearsay. Hearsay is when you get to the court. Hearsay is when you get to the court. And I talk about it to the young policemen some time ago, that people write in statements and say, somebody told me something in the statement. Rubbish. That is not a statement. Statement, you have to write what is said by everyone. And then when the time comes for the evidence to be given in court, then the skillful prosecutor will know how he has to get that evidence in, how he has to navigate that. So from the time you start, he can ask you, where was the accused or where was the defendant at that time? And he said the defendant was present and within hearing. So therefore, it is no longer hearsay. But see, you know that, we know that as prosecutors, right? So the fact that what might have been said in a statement is hearsay, you have to know it has to be in the statement. You can't write a statement to say that somebody told you something. You have to write to say what you overheard. And then you, the prosecutor, know, well, hey, that is hearsay, and you got to know how to navigate around that in a court of law. Am I correct or not?
You are quite correct. But Paul, if they're saying what Boscon says hearsay, what about what the police saying? Is not hearsay too? I want to use some words that you are familiar with, some words that the crime chief is familiar with. That the whole thing is inherently incredible.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with that.
Inherently incredible.
Yeah, I am familiar with that. I'm familiar with that. And those people who are here, some of you also might be familiar with that term. Inherently incredible. Inherently incredible. Now, let me move on.
Yeah.
The second key point is that they're saying that Bosco was arrested at a location where drugs were found during a custom anti-narcotic unit operation. He consequently made 2 live streams where he made further allegations and personal demands. The timing of these revelations caused one to question the veracity of the allegation. And then he go on to say it was noted that his decision to make these live streams was in contravention of Section 19.5A of the Cybercrime Act of Guyana, number 16, 2018, of the cooperative, which said that you can't use computer system to transmit electronic data with intent to humiliate, harass, or cause distress. Again, this is what nonsense is this? Again, the investigator, if any investigator was done, would know. They must have known if you did an investigation that these allegations were out there since February. These allegations weren't made after this raid. The allegation might have been made public after the raid, and Boscom said the reason why he went public at that time. And let me remind you, he said that the reason why he went public then is because he got a source called to say that they put his paper, you can't remember his picture was plastered across the media as arrested in a drug sting, because he is saying that they did that so as to associate him with drugs, so that when he was taken out, that is what he said, then people are going to say, well, it's a drug deal gone wrong. So I can understand what nonsense this number 2 point is saying when this allegation about the cover-up and the bribe taking, the $30 million, was there out there since February of this year. Since February of this year, that thing was circulating. And they talk about violating the demand, according to them, just what the police said, just what Aiken and Branham said at the press conference, they come to repeat. What type of credence you can give to that? Can you give any credence here?
No, not whatsoever. But Paul, I heard Boscom on the tape saying that when he went to that location where the drug was found, the canoe was already there.
Yes,
And
I heard that too.
if they want to say that he was compromised, Up to now, they can't charge you for trafficking or love or in possession of thing there. Not a single charge in relation to that thing there. He said he was already, they were already there. So where is the evidence? So
So
why
they're gonna
make
say
a
he lied.
reference about it?
They, seeing that they're out to discredit him, they're gonna say he wasn't there.
Yeah.
That he lied. They're gonna say that he lied too, because everything apparently that he said is a lie.
Or they're gonna say hearsay.
And then they go on to say, number three, the veracity of the allegation was further undermined by the fact that Sergeant Bascom was found to be living rent-free in a furnished property in the area of Essequibo, belonging to an Essequibo businessman and gold dealer. Now, again, if you ain't question Bascom, and from all indication, you ain't question this place where you live, the landlord, how you know, how you come to this fantastical conclusion that this man live rent free? And even if he live there rent free, how does that impact on the allegation that he's making? How does that impact on the allegation he's making, having regards to the fact that these allegations again were made since February, long before he went to this place? How do you explain that?
Well, the major crime unit person working there, they're talking about Bascom rent free. Look at their lifestyle. Check their assets against the salary they're receiving. Check their assets against the salary they're receiving, and they're going to tell you a story.
True, and that is what, you talk about that brings back to mind that when the Office of Professional Responsibility was set up, Linda Lewis, if you recall, Linda Lewis,
Yeah, I know well.
Deputy Commissioner Edward Wills was the first person to head that office. They had a program there where they were to do IT. And IT is not technology we're talking about, but it was integrity testing.
Yeah.
Where they were to do integrity testing, the same thing you're talking about, where you were to see if a man is living above his means. And that would have told you a story, because if a man working for $60,000, $80,000 a month and he can drive Audi and he drive all them fancy cars, something got to be wrong. The Chinese man says something wrong. Something wrong. And again, that is not being done. But you're right. If they were to check many of them, a lot of things are going to be revealed, but they don't want to do that. And then the fourth one, it said it has further been found that Bascom was working as a personal security officer for the Essequibo businessman. It is noted that Sergeant Bascom's private employment as a security officer for the businessman was a direct contravention of Section 32 of the Police Act, Chapter 1601, which prohibits members from the force from engaging in trade and business without the consent of the Commissioner of Police. Further, Section 31(1) prohibits any rank from holding any other office or employment for hire or gain. Now, let me say this before I bring you in. If you apply Section 31 of the Police Act, Chapter 1601, 90% of the police officers and other ranks in the Guyana Police Force have to work. 90%, if you are to implement that according to officers' leaders, it's one of them old archaic law. And let me read for the benefit of our loyal watchers, listeners. Let me read for the policemen who are in the system. Listen, here what Section 31 says. Any member of the force may be discharged at any time if without the consent of the commissioner. A, he carries on any business or trade or holds any other office or employment for hire or gain. B, he resides at any premises where any member of his family keeps a shop or carries on any like business. C, he holds, or any member of his family living with him holds any license granted in pursuance of the liquor licensing law or the law regulating place of public entertainment, or he has pecuniary interest in any shop or business carried out by virtue of such a license. And D, his wife, not being separated or divorced from him, keeps a shop or carries on any like business in Guyana. And then in defining for the purpose of this section, members of the family, in defining, the section says, for the purpose of this section, the expression members of the family, members of his family shall include a parent, a son or daughter, a brother or sister, a husband or wife. So therefore, if you apply this, you want to, and I say 90% or more of the members of the force got to be dismissed because they're doing it on a show they don't have, they didn't get the permission of the commissioner. Some of the senior officers, the very senior officers, they get business. If they don't get business, their family get business. Their children get business and they live with them. So what nonsense they are saying? We know some years ago, the commissioner at the time had gold business, right? So who gives him permission or who gave him permission to do gold business? See, what are you saying about this, man?
Even if I'm certain that I didn't talk to that businessman and the crib and ask him straight question, was or is boss come under your employment? But I jumped to the conclusion that he's under the employment. And a lot of police, Paul, and I'm gonna be specific, and a lot of CID are moonlighting at a certain massive business entity at Liliendal. I go there down then and I see them there afterwards, after working over there, moonlighting there. And they are from CID headquarters.
Well,
Was
as
good
we
for
say,
Tom. Was
as
good
we
for
said
Tom. Was
before,
good for June.
as I said before, according to the man, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others, and that is what's going on.
I study animal farm for GC. I know it well.
Yeah, yeah. And then the fifth key point, that says Sad Bascom has denied leaking information to the media as it relates to the ongoing investigation. However, there is evidence that he did contact the press, and this was confirmed by the police. Even the reporters say they rely on this because the police confirm. I mean, this is real rubbish. This is real laughable. This is real carry-on story that you have here. The same police that you're supposed to review who are accused of impropriety, you're saying in your review that the police tell you so. See what really going on. And more I read this thing, I believe that nobody came. If anybody in fact came, anybody get no credentials in terms of investigating. This is more Marie. You got to start with.
When my son was in common entrance class, he used to use a word. He used to use a word. He said, "Daddy, nonsensical nonsense." So I tackled him recently, and he said, "Daddy, you know the words I'm gonna use, man. Inherently incredible."
Exactly. This thing is inherently incredible, and I know the crime chief of all forces will know what we're talking about here. He of all forces will know what we're talking about. Inherently incredible. And the sixth key finding is that Stan Bascom has alleged that the Guyana police force tried to cover up the unlawful killing homicide of Ugandans. However, there is evidence that the Guyana police force has diligently sought regional and international assistance in solving this crime. And again, I say, what assistance have they sought? What assistance? They said very early in the game that there was no CCTV footage. So they had nothing to go on. Because remember, initially people say, well, this thing happened not so far from State House. You have all these cameras. This vehicle was found at Swan on the Leland Suzaik Highway, which is about 20-25 miles away from the crime of the scene of the crime. So you want to tell me they ain't got CCTV cameras along the way? They said no. And now in the same release, some release they made, they suddenly found some footage.
Yeah.
Which they say contradicts statement given by someone at the witness. What is really going on in this thing, man? What really going on? And you know, he said it's quicksand. Quicksand.
The more you wriggle,
the faster you're going to sink. And that is exactly what is going on. The more they wriggle, the faster they're going to sink. And then they say, well, that's the same part I refer to, a close associate of Ricardo Fogondes, who was in this company just prior to his death, gave investigative officers inaccurate statements related to the events on the night of the incident. The evidence obtained by the investigators revealed these inconsistencies. An example of this is the fact that the close associate said that Fogandas was driving the vehicle on arrival at the location of the incident. However, This is the point. However,
Footage.
CCTV records show that the said associate was the one driving. CCTV also show that his description of the movement of the vehicle while it's in the area was also inaccurate, and he neglected to tell officers about the third person who arrived at the club with them in the vehicle. Now, where the CCTV footage suddenly come from? Where? So you have CCTV footage to show that this associate gave inconsistent statement, but you have CCTV footage to show what actually took place, the shooting, and where the vehicle left, and how many people were involved and all of that. Well, I mean, the more, and again, I say, I don't know that a report containing these elements were actually submitted, but that is what the ministry is claiming, that these things were submitted. So where the CCTV footage come from now? Mr. Conway, please help me, Emma, help me.
It must come from, I can't, I don't know, Paul.
That's the word. I could understand that.
I'm trying to find something, but I can't find anything there.
But I know, it's easy. It's inherently incredible, so it's not easy to give a plausible explanation on that. It is not easy to give a plausible explanation to something that is inherently incredible. And lastly, according to the key findings, Sergeant Bascom alleged that there was a device in the possession of the police which identified Mark Richmond's cell phone as being at the scene of the unlawful killing / homicide of Fernandez when it happened. However, the Guyana Police Force Technical Officer ASP Rodwell Sarabo has confirmed that the police force does not have any such technology and that Sergeant Bascom was never at the crime scene with him. What do you say to this?
I don't know that first thing Sarabo is a technical officer. Unless he was maybe a couple of days ago appointed. More lies again. There are certain equipment available. And sometime next week I'm going to put out something. We're talking about Pegasus. The Israeli,
I saw the 60 minutes
Israeli spy equipment. And the police got equipment. They got equipment. I'm going to put out something. They have equipment available.
But exactly. Roger Khan had equipment that was found in his possession at Good Hope.
Yeah.
The thing was revealed in the courts in the U.S.
Yeah.
Right? You remember, revealed in the courts of the U.S. that they had equipment. They said that the then Minister of Health, Leslie Sam, this equipment is not sold to private individuals out of the spy shop in Miami. It is sold to governments. And the people produce evidence that the Minister of Health at the time, Leslie Ramsamy, is the one who signed on behalf of the government to acquire the equipment. Yeah. That was the thing since 2002. You had equipment. You want to tell me that all the advances in technology, I get equipment and that. I posted something not so long ago on social media. Go on my page, you will see it. Where, when I was there, Mr. Green produced to the media the equipment because there was question as to where the equipment was.
Yeah.
And Mr. Green produced the equipment where he said the equipment was in the possession of the police. Mr. Green says, the late Commissioner Green. And check, it is there. I mean, these things are easy to research and to find. It is there. So I don't know where they are getting. And the recent development, CC, is that I understand that Bascom was, charges were filed against Bascom yesterday. He is to appear, or he may have appeared already today in court, cybercrime charges, to say that he used a computer equipment to humiliate Caesar and I think somebody else, Singh, and he is charged for that. He's supposed to appear in court this morning. Did you see that?
Yes, and then it ran through my mind, that nearly a year ago, I went with you to Breakdown Police Station.
Oh, yes.
Where you complain against the Attorney General, where you certain remarks that were made. Yeah?
Well, let me tell the public. Let me tell the public about that. Let me tell the public about that, CC. Then, on October the 15th, 2021, I, in company with my attorney, Mr. Selwyn Peters, and Mr. Conway, I made a report at the Brigham Police Station against the Attorney General, Mr. Anil Nandalal. At the time, the Brigham Police Station was temporarily housed in the St. Stanislaus compound. And the report related to a statement he made on a show Issues in the News on the 29th of June, 2021, where among things he said, he referred to me and other members of the Police Service Commission as anarchists. He said further that me, Paul Slow, is a Bajan, that is in reference to a notorious criminal in Trinidad. He went on further to say, and I view this as a threat, he went on further to say that there's no place in a society governed by the rule of law for people like me. Let me repeat that. The Attorney General said on NCN News, on NCN TV, that there is no place for a society governed by the rule of law for people like me. I went to Brigham, as I said, accompanied with my lawyer, Mr. Selwyn Peters from Canada, and Mr. Conway, and I lodged the report. I submitted a statement to them at the same time. I submitted a detailed statement to the police. I also furnished them with a transcript of the offending parts of this program Issues in the News. I gave them all of that. That was on the afternoon of the 15th of October last year, 11 months ago, actually, almost a year. And I can tell you this, no one has ever called me to find out anything. No one has ever said to me, well, this investigation is ongoing. No one has said anything. And therefore, the only conclusion you can come to is that the cybercrime law is selectively enforced. The cybercrime law is selectively enforced. And if you are going to charge Sergeant Bascom because he humiliated Caesar and Singh, I think, is the next guy, what happened when the crime chief used the press conference to call Bascom a liar, to seek to denigrate Bascom? Did he not at that time violate the cybercrime law as well? Mr. Conway, help me out here.
Certainly violations of the cybercrime law. And I want to believe, on a lighter note, that when they were moving from St. Stanislaus College to their present location at Brigham, those documents that you submitted, they got lost in the way, so they left them somewhere.
No, but in that case, they would have contacted me because I get copies stored in the cloud. I get copies stored all over the place. So if they wanted copy, even the actual program Issues in the News of the 29th of June is there. It's there. I make sure I get a copy. In case they pull it down, I still have it. And let me tell, I am seeing someone is saying a breaking news. Bascom has filed private charges against Blanham. Somebody, I don't know how true it is, but this is now coming to someone in the comments is saying that Bascom has filed private charge against Blanham. Congrats. Kudos. Let's see what those charges are. Because I was just saying that if you are saying that when Bascom made the allegation against Caesar and the CID that he has violated the cybercrime law, I am saying that when the crime chief went on the press conference to tell the world or to attempt to, what he said, to
debunk
what Bascom was saying, that he too, because he said, oh, Bascom lie, he's a liar, he's not telling the truth, and all kind of thing he claimed, and he used a computer system to do so. And therefore, having regards to all the evidence, because it has been proven that when Bascom says that he took in Randall Bacchus, it is true. Bacchus said that. Bacchus' lawyer confirmed that. And therefore, the crime chief would have been telling lies. And I will, if it is, I don't know if they're saying, first of all, I don't know what they're saying that the charge has been filed. I don't know the nature of the charge. But I'm saying that having regards to all that have been said about Bascom and the fact that the charges that are being filed against him now for violating the Cybercrime Act, I want to say, it is my view that the crime chief would have done would have also violated the Cybercrime Act when he went to debunk Bascom's story. And somebody is saying, hey, let's wait to see what the DPP will do. Let's wait, because you know the DPP, and let me say this, I don't know if you will agree with me, CC, I have absolutely no faith in the office of the DPP. And this is from personal experience. I have absolutely no faith or confidence in the office of the DPP. It is clear that the DPP now is a political office, right? So certain charges are being pursued, certain charges are not being pursued. You get to a case now with the DPP office where a report can be made against a citizen, and the citizen is never questioned. This citizen is never arrested. The citizen is never asked his point, and the person is charged on instructions from the DPP and put before the court. Inherent, again, incredible state. So if it is that private charges, and I'm sure it's going to be private criminal charge, I would think, charge or charges is or are filed against the crime chief. Let's wait to see what the DPP will do. Mr. Conway.
Like you, I've lost confidence in the DPP. And I always have to refer to cases. Remember, Anand Nandalal charged for thief in law book. You had Ashley Singh. You had Mike Washington.
But see,
and others.
Take a pin in terms of the Anand Nandalal charge. It's not only charge, you know. The case, and I think if you do the research, you're going to find it is unprecedented in the history of the Commonwealth. A person is charged, they go to court, prima facie case is made out.
Yeah.
They challenge it in a higher court. This higher court ruled that, hey, there's a case for you to answer, and you should answer the charge. Having gone through all of that, the case is withdrawn by the DPP. Sorry to interrupt, but continue.
Yeah. All those persons where the DPP directed compelling evidence, charge them. Up comes a change of government, and all those cases are null pros. And what's happening now is that they're using Suku as the political arm of whichever government is in power. I read recently the case against the former ministers gone through the drain. Suku, or must say the notorious Suku, with his infamous leader, Assistant Commissioner Karen Bash, they charge quite a number of people, and they have not yet successfully prosecute anybody in court. According to the records, there are two persons, a Nigerian pleaded guilty, and the other female from somewhere in the East Bank, she pleaded guilty to fraud charge. But the other cases, for the matter, they can't even make any disclosure. Take, for instance, our case. Over a year gone, no disclosure. I remember the magistrate asking the prosecutor, Madam Prosecutor, how many witnesses do you have? Madam Prosecutor, how many witnesses do you have? Couldn't answer. Next thing you know, she left the work. She gone away. And my information is that Suku, they have been paying persons 5,000 US to prosecute matters, and they can't get a successful prosecutor. They can't even get off the starting block. But my encouragement is to Karen Bash, particularly in our case, come forward and give the evidence. We want you to have your day in court. We want to have our day in court. Don't send other persons. And apart from that, Karen Bash is a certified prosecutor. He can save the government of that 5,000 US that they got to pay for person prosecute. I had him on a 1-year special prosecutor course, not a watered down thing that they're currently holding, where it was conducted by the police, the DPP, and the University of Guyana. And they did some very important subjects: criminal law, evidence and procedure, criminal practice and procedure, um, advocacy, legal research and writing, English and attachment. All those were main component of that 1 year special prosecutor course that that my special commissioner, Larry Lewis, in his wisdom, has initiated. So, asking Karimbash, the prosecutor gone, come up and take the mantle and fight the case. Let me see what you have there. Save
You
the
said
government 5,000 US per
you
case.
said you said they taught English on that course too.
Yep.
Well, I have to ask the question because if you see the writings of some of these people, the names that you call, I'm not sure that they attended classes
Good.
on those days. But let me make a significant point. Let me clarify a significant point to our viewers here. You're saying that those charges that the DPP withdrew against all of those persons,
Null pros.
not pros. You know, before the matters could have been filed in the first instance, it would have been the same DPP's chambers that have to give approval, you know. So understand, listeners, understand, viewers, that having gone through the file or the files and approved charges against those persons is the same office now deciding, well, there's no evidence to continue with those charges. And that is why I'm saying that there can be no confidence in that office. And just look at at some recent comments by the CCJ in respect to that. It's embarrassing if you're a Guyanese. It's embarrassing more so if you are in law enforcement and in the legal fraternities. It is embarrassing. And then another piece of the thing with this whole Bascom case, you know, I read this morning in the Starbrook News. I don't know how true it is, but Starbrook News is saying that the foreign security team is assessing Bascom's claim. This is not based on what is said. This is not the RSS, you know. The RSS came, and according to the Ministry of Home Affairs, the RSS conducted a review, and the Ministry of Home Affairs highlighted 8 key points of the review, which we went through at while now. Now they're saying that there's some foreign security team assessing Bascom's claim. So really is going on. This is another team, again, another team that has not been presented to the public for us to see their credentials. What are the terms of reference? And this whole thing is a real puppy show. Had it not been so serious, we should have been laughing about it. But you can't laugh, because I believe more and more, in regards to all that has happened, it is over 3 weeks since, according to Bascom's lawyer, over 3 weeks since he has asked the president for protection under the Public Disclosure Act for Bascom. Based on what the lawyer said, there has been no response from the president. Given what this is now happening, what the Ministry of Home Affairs says that the RSS team said, given the fact that Bascom is now charged for under the Cybercrime Act, I believe more and more Bascom's life is at risk. I believe Bascom's life is at risk. I believe that the government and the police and all of these people do not want to get to the truth of these allegations. I don't believe they want to get to the truth. And I believe now that the only thing to save Bascom is asylum in some foreign country. I believe that's the only way, because once he's around, there are reports that his firearm has been taken away from him and he's left exposed to the elements. Now, if you're going to charge him, I suspect that shortly thereafter, they're going to interdict, or as has been happening in recent times, they're going to just go ahead and dismiss him unlawfully, because there's no, you're innocent until proven guilty, and there's no legal grounds to dismiss him. But I would suspect they're going to do that because they are all going after a particular agenda, get rid of Bascom so that we can continue to cover down this matter. And all Guyanese, because today is Bascom, tomorrow it might be you. And this whole thing, you know, is in violation of the Protective Disclosure Act. That once you are a whistleblower, and I checked the thing this morning again, and a whistleblower that says someone who reveals information about corrupt practices in a department or by one of the colleagues. And there can be no doubt, having regards to what Bascom is claiming, that he is a whistleblower. And the laws of Guyana, the Protective Disclosure Act, make it clear that you can't charge a person criminally, you can't bring no disciplinary charge against him, you can't bring no civil charge against him. Yet still, we understand that Bascom is charged. I saw the complaint without oath. I saw one of the copies of the magisterial jacket that the charge was, or I saw one magisterial jacket where the charge was filed yesterday, and I saw complaints of out oath where, but the file yesterday is supposed to appear in court today. So I don't know what is going on. I don't know. But again, I say, I believe every single effort that has been taken so far by the police administration and the government, starting with the press conference or the so-called press conference by the police, by this statements that were made by the businessman, by the fact that request was made for protection and none was granted, the fact that he's now charged for cybercrime, for violating the Cybercrime Act. All of these things, in my view, are designed to put him in peril. And more, the fact that they took away his firearm and all of that, they are exposing him to the criminal elements to take care of him, because they don't want what he has to say to be revealed any further. That is my take on this. Mr. Conway.
Paul, there are some movers and shakers of the Guyana police force who still have some socialist mentality in them, especially as it relates to complaints. If it's embarrassing, if it's going to make us uncomfortable, shut it down, deny it, cover it up. And that mentality has sheltered down to members of the Guyana police force. I mentioned already about Shelley Ann Huckstave, the prostitute, the heroin addict, not hearsay, who confessed, who said that, look, or who knew what was going on, because some of the police were clients. Some of them even received freebies, and we know in Guyana, the police like freebies. That she testified, they accepted the evidence from a strumpet that brought down the New South Wales police force. The most decorated cop in that police force become the most corrupt persons. He ended up in jail. He's presently in jail, and I think he's going to come out horizontally. But you know what happened to Shelly Ann? They found her dead in a pond, strangled, murder unsolved. I'm scared. I'm scared for Boston. I don't like to be negative, but I'm scared. And I'm remembering Serpico. I'm remembering certain things. I'm scared for him, and he needs to be protected. But Paul, there's a little gray area in that act, when is a person deemed to be a whistleblower, or somebody in authority has to deem him a whistleblower, and then for him to have protection? Weeks ago, we asked for protection, and you hear nothing, no respond to the lawyer's request.
Well, yeah, I went through the act. There are lots of definitions, but the act does not define who a whistleblower is. But taking it at its regular definition, they say the thing is clear who a whistleblower. I have it from the dictionary, I have it, I've did the research, who a whistleblower is. And there can be no doubt in regards to that, what is said, that Bascom is a whistleblower. And let me try to, let me read it here for the benefit of our audience. We beating and we teaching, we teaching.
Yeah.
They say a whistleblower is a person who informs on a person or organization engaged in an illicit activity. And then the next definition says one who reveals something covert or who informs against another, especially an employee who brings wrongdoing by his employer or by another employee to the attention of government or law enforcement agency. And it said, note, a whistleblower is commonly protected legally from retaliation And in America, it goes on to say, Congress has added significant due protection for whistleblowers and provides remedies, including reinstatement. So if you lose the work, you got to be reinstated, back pay with interest as appropriate, punitive damage for whistleblowers who are discharged, demoted, or discriminated against due to their involvement with a claim. So the laws are there, and I said I have no doubt that if you look at who a whistleblower is, Bascom is a whistleblower. He's coming and he's saying, hey, there's a cover-up. He's saying, hey, corruption taking place, bribery passed to cover up this thing. So he's blowing the whistle on a department which he works and an organization in which he works, the Guyana Police Force and the CID. So by definition, he is a whistleblower. And the Guyana Protective Disclosure Act says that a man like he, Section 17 of that act, that you ought not to charge him either criminally, you ought not to charge him departmentally, or you cannot bring any civil lawsuit in respect to the disclosure he made. And here we have in this land of ours, this civilized plantation, some people refer to it, civil action is initiated against him, and now criminal action in respect to the same the information that is revealed, and the law expressly prohibits that from taking place. So I don't know where we are. I don't know where we are, but I continue to say that more and more Bascom is in grave danger. And I believe, as regards to the attitude of the government and the police in respect to this matter, his only salvation is political asylum in some other country. Yes, CC.
I am satisfied beyond any reasonable doubt that Boston has qualified to be legally deemed a whistleblower. This is the man who has broken down the blue wall of silence, which encourages people not to speak up when they see something go wrong. He has the guts to come forward and make the allegations, and he's being prosecuted for that. Unheard of. Inherently incredible.
Inherently incredible. Inherently incredible. And that perhaps is a good point for me to ask you if you have any closing statement.
No, I think I've said enough. And by God's grace, next week, we'll be there to continue the work of the Lord.
Thank you very much, CC. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we will talk. Now, let me say this in closing. Again, I have to emphasize that this case, and people have been asking me, people from the Caribbean, what is going on? Law enforcement and other people that I know have been calling to find out what is going on. How can this be happening? The RASS or the RSS report, and people who know the RSS, who work and have connections, say the RSS has no such capability. And I've been saying this all along. They have no such capability. Let's assume that they came because the Ministry of Home Affairs is saying that they came. I don't know that they came because no one has ever presented to the public. You don't have any name or anything like that. And they sought to synthesize the report and to say this is what the key findings are. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And we said, let us see the report. I understand that Bascom's lawyer has written to the commissioner for him to provide the report. I can take a bet there and go nowhere. No report will be provided. They want us to believe whatever they say. Whatever they pull out, whether it's from the report or whether it's from some other thing, they pull it out and they're saying that this is what we must believe. But remember, we say we're big, but we aren't stupid. We are big. We aren't stupid. No, very few people will believe what they are saying because the Ministry of Home Affairs, like the police hierarchy, they have no credibility. They have no credibility. So how do you believe what they are telling us? How do you believe? Right? So we say, show us the report. We're big enough, we can read, we can understand. I would think that if you're going to reveal the report, certain information you might want to have redacted, in other words, blanked out, because it might compromise some ongoing investigation. We can live with that. But show us the report. Don't come and tell us what the report said. And now that you have told us what the report said, you're now telling us this morning that you get some other foreign team investigate. What really going on? Tell us. The Minister of Home Affairs, the Commissioner of Police, the Crime Chief, the National Security Advisor should come out in a press conference and tell the Guyanese public exactly what is going on with this matter. Tell us what you're doing. You're telling what you asked for international investigation into the Fagundes murder and all that. Come and let people know. Let us know what exactly is being done and try to satisfy us so questions can be asked. But don't give some puerile release and expect us to believe it. We're big, but we are stupid. We're not intellectually lazy. We want to see things that we can interrogate them ourselves. So let me understand this clearly. And we will continue to follow the development in this and other stories because, as I said, this story ain't done yet. This story ain't finished. This story is not finished. And again, I'm looking at social media and I see report that private criminal charges might have been filed against the crime chief. Let me see what those charges are and let's see what will happen to those charges. Let's see. It's a game on. Game on. Takes two to tango. So let's see. One good thing about this too that we did not mention earlier is that Bascom is in competent legal hands. Let's have no doubt about that. He's in competent legal hands, and let's see where this will go. And as you know, countryman say, knock, get knocked back. Right? Knock, get knocked back. So it looked like you get a knock, and you get knocked back, and you get knocked back. Let's see. Because remember, this matter here now with Bascom is the old power of the state is ganging up on him there, It's the old power, the Ministry of Home Affairs, the police. And the police, the hierarchy of the police do nothing unless they're instructed to do it. So it's the whole state seems to be now against Bascom and trying to bring him down. Mr. Conway mentioned Sopico. He mentioned the story from Australia. I want to come closer home and remind you of George Bacchus in 2004. Days before he was scheduled to go before a commission of inquiry into the Garjot thing, he was shot and killed in his bed. I think it was Princess Street, shot and killed. So again, I have grave concern for Bascom's safety, and I hope that everything possible will be done. We don't know that the government and the police are not going to do anything to make him safe or to protect him. But let's hope that others, including his lawyer, including his family and friends, will surround him and offer him protection. And at the same time, I know many of you here on this program are churchgoers and you believe in prayers. Let's pray. Let's pray to the good Lord and ask for his protection. Ask for the blood of Jesus to be spread over Bascom and that he will be protected to give whatever evidence and to say whatever he has to say. So I ask all of my Christian brothers and sisters, my Muslim brothers and sisters, Hindu, whatever religion you're from, once you're right thinking, I ask that you pray for Detective Sergeant Dion Bascom. I close by reminding you that COVID and the pox, monkeypox, are still around. So I encourage you to continue to be safe, continue to do all that is possible to keep yourself, your family, your loved ones safe. And that is where we end for today. And God's willing, next Wednesday, next Wednesday going to be the 21st. Next Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we're going to be here on another program of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. For now, bye and have a good day.